Hi, Sowmya. It's so nice to have you. Thank you for joining the Unsinkable storytelling community. As everyone knows, this month is all about self-love and compassion. It's Love Month. A lot of us are talking about romantic love, and we really wanted to shed a light on the intersections of self-love and our mental health journeys and how much self-love is integral to building a relationship with ourselves and being well. And so I have the wonderful Sowmya here with me, and we're going to talk all things love and what it means to practice self-love. And before we get into the interview, Somia, would you like to just do a quick introduction of who you are?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Sowmya Rajasekaran. I am the founder of Build Up Women and Build Up series. It's a series that was launched right when the pandemic hit to really shed a light on the disproportionate impact among women and folks across the communities. So I'm really thankful to be here for this conversation.
Thank you. And so my first question is obviously the burning question um, around your journey with self-love. What does it mean to have self-love, and what does your experience and relationship to self-love look like? Well, what does self-love even mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's varied a lot as I've grown older. So for my story, I come from an immigrant family, and so immigrant family more so specifically, we moved into a village at that time where I didn't feel represented. So at that point, there was really a struggle with my identity in terms of me thinking that I needed to change myself to fit into the primarily Caucasian population in our community, and so that's something that was I was really struggling with playing tug of war earlier on, where I didn't know that I was actually struggling with it, but I recognized as I grew older and I'm reflecting that that was something that played a huge part in terms of self love within myself. And to me, what self love means is just acceptance. There's a lot of, I guess I want to say, societal pressure to be a certain way as a woman of color, as an immigrant, to say yes to everything, to be open to everything, to not speak up, not speak out, be calm and gentle, and so with those things, and I have to go back to my upbringing as well, in the way that we have to be respectful, we have to be kind, and yes, those are things are wonderful. I think it's equally important to stand up for yourself and voice your thoughts and your opinions. So that was something that I was struggling with a lot, and I thought that me speaking up or me speaking out made me look bad, and I wanted to be loved by people around me. And so I've grown a lot since then, and I understand it's a constant struggle because no matter where you are, there's either imposter syndrome or there is that fight with the community. In terms of, oh my goodness, what if my opinion or what I say results in X, or results in someone or this person not liking me or whatever. But I've accepted that that is just part of life as well, and that your thoughts and opinions are really important to be heard. So it's not that we don't have a voice. I feel as though the voice just needs to be amplified even more. And so self love to me means waking up every single morning and saying that you're just thankful for who you are or who you've become. We don't often pause and talk about ourselves that way. We embrace others. we give back to others, whether it's our friends or family. We say, you know what, you are great. You are perfect the way you are. You don't need to change. You don't need to do that. But we don't do that to ourselves sometimes. We don't wake up to ourselves and we say, you know what, you're okay the way you are. You're good the way you are. Continue to voice up your concerns, to continue to voice your thoughts. Don't ever be afraid to do so. Are you going to lose people along the way? Absolutely. That's just life. You're going to learn to disconnect from folks because we're constantly evolving as individuals. And I feel like I've done that, where I've said, you know what, there's nothing wrong with this person. It's just I've evolved to a place where I just that person doesn't fit into my circle or what I need in life. And that's okay. We don't need to have hundreds and thousands of friends around us. And that's part of life. So self love for me is continuous. I want to say it's a continuous journey of just acceptance, a continuous journey of just loving unconditionally, no matter what. And that even goes for me as as a mom of two kids, because even self love after you have kids, there's this whole image of pressure of what you need to look like. Oh my goodness, I don't look like any of that. It's just, you wake up and you embrace that you had a shower, and you're like, okay, I made it through the day. I thrived, and that's okay. Yes, I cried a little bit, but I survived the day, and that's good. So we need to be more accepted, um, accepted into like who we authentically are, and to say, and to not equate strength or weakness with crying, as an example, I want to say, because oftentimes that's the conversation. Oh my goodness, like this person is crying, they must be really weak. It's not the case, right? It's empowerment, it's strength, it's showing your resilience, it's showing up for yourself. That's part of the emotion of it. So um yeah, so I want to say that self-love looks differently no matter where you are in life. And for me, I feel like I've reached the time and space where I, get up in the morning and this is who I am 100%. And I unconditionally love who I am 100%. Right. So, yeah.
I love that. It seems like the themes that come up a lot for you in your self-love journey are acceptance and advocacy.
Yeah.
Um, and I could relate so much to that. Like, I know for me, a part of loving myself is being able to speak up when I need something and speak up on the things that, aren't going well for me, or the things that I don't like and the things I do like.
Mm.
And just accepting that I am someone who wants to share and wants to speak up for myself. I am a more outspoken person. And I think I agree with you, like being women of color, we shrink that version of ourselves because we don't want to seem like trouble or like a burden. But in reality, we're just speaking up for ourselves. It's advocacy in practice. And like that is self-love, knowing when you need that. So I really, really love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And my second question relates to these themes of advocacy and acceptance. Why is it so important for you to integrate advocacy and acceptance for you to take care of your mental health?
Yeah, I've realized recently that it's not about me anymore, because I have two little girls that are like me, that look up to me. So I need to not only think of myself, right? I need to also create these spaces for them to advocate for themselves, for them to not shy away for speaking up, and for them to go out there and be fearless, or go out there and accept themselves for who they are. It's a reflection on me, right? So do I think that for myself, um, at the same time, I need to be present in who I am authentically in order for me to be present for them 100%. So for me, mental health plays a tremendous role in just recognizing whatever that might bring, whether that is, recognizing that today is just not a good day, or this hour is not good, or recognizing that, what, like I am building myself up to having anxiety, whatever that might be, is to figure out, okay, well, how am I going to, what are kind of the tools or the support systems that I have in place to allow me to say, what, you are enough. You are enough. You are doing the best you can. You are not perfect, but nobody else is doing those things. And I have an audience, right? So when I'm doing those things, I have two little ones that are looking at me. They're like, okay, okay. So this is how mom does it, right? So whenever I'm getting to a place, I need to say, what, I am enough. There's a lot of emphasis right now that I'm noticing, even with my 5-year-old, on the way you're looking on the outside already. Like, she's 5, and there's that conversation is already happening in school, in the way that, in what you're wearing, or the way that your hair is done, or or how you're acting. And so there are already conversations and happening, and means, X means you're good, or X means you're beautiful, right? So it's always a focus on external, there's not enough focus on internal. So there's always there are conversations about love means being kind, love means speaking out, love means being calm, love means taking deep breaths, right? There isn't one specific definition on who you should be or who how you need to act or behave, because oftentimes we think, you know what, yes, school's great, because there are instructions in place and all these things. At the same time, you need to be allowed to discover, you need to be allowed to advocate for yourself. If someone says your name wrong, you're going to be like, that's not my name. This is how you pronounce my name, right? So those are all kind of the pieces that I am trying to instill in my little ones, to say, you know what, you don't have to put up with someone calling you by the wrong name for several years. You can just say, you know what, that's not my name. This is how you pronounce my name, right? Um, so that's why I think it's really important, because after a certain point, I quickly recognized, that it's just not about me anymore. It's about what are the tools am I putting in front of my little ones that they can grasp and implement them for themselves so that they can advocate for what they need. Right? So,
Absolutely. And I think what you said about the audience, which I love that kind of analogy of your little ones being your audience, allowing them to see self-love as a way to be okay and a way to, like you said, calm down your nervous system or take a deep breath. Or, love is being able to calm down. Love is being able to speak up. Love is being able to, correct someone spelling their name. Like all of those things kind of give you a mental ease.
yeah.
And the intersection is so integral that you, like you said, not a lot of people realize how important it is to lean into those tools of advocacy, tools of acceptance, tools of compassion. So important. And I
Mm.
know there's a lot of emphasis on romantic love when it comes to love in general, but you speak about your little ones a lot and how much they inspire you and push you. And I just think there's so much other themes of love to be shared. And so
Yeah.
what themes of love is important for you to share currently with your little ones?
I think empathy goes a long way, and the other is just gratitude and being grateful. And we talk about this just in the sense of privilege, right? Um, what so we talk about, what my journey was, or what my parents' journey was, having immigrated to Canada. It was not an easy move. We did not have the resources or the support systems that we needed in place to feel safe, to feel comforted. We faced racism, we faced microaggression just because the tone of our skin, with folks asking us, where we're from, like all those little things, right? But they will never know that, because they're not facing it at the moment, because we're in a community where they are represented. So it's all about, for me, to have those conversations. It's even about financial stability, right? We have a roof over our head, we have access to food, we have access to water. So it's just showing gratitude. It's also empathizing with other children or other kids who may not have access to those things. So it's recognizing the privilege. So I can't say, yes, I'm a woman of color, but I have privilege, right? Because oftentimes that is the ongoing conversation, is that, okay, well, you're a woman of color, must be you may not have that privilege, right? That's not the case. There are various stages of privileges, and we have a privilege of, having access to these things, but we need to recognize that, and also need to give back at the same time. Like, what does that giving back look like when it comes to a little one, right? What does that look like when it comes to being kind to someone? What are some of the words that we need to use so they know that we're empathizing with them? So it's, for me, it's always about constant conversation, which is equally frightening when we're living in a world of technology and social media. So I don't know what 20 years from now is going to look like for my two girls, in terms of what kind of pressures they're going to face, or what kind of influences they're going to have to fight to, get past. That is really scary for me. I'm very lucky that I didn't grow up in a space where the internet didn't really come out until I was a little bit older. And so social media did not exist until I was in university. So I felt like I had an escape almost, where I didn't have to go through cyberbullying, for example, right? I can't say the same that my daughters may not face or will face that, but it's about how are you going to equip them with the right tools and systems in place so that they're continuously standing up for themselves and they're advocating for themselves and for other people. So that's all about conversation. So for us, it's all about, okay, well, you can ask me anything. I feel like that's a great way to start off in our household is ask about anything, be curious, don't ever stop asking questions. Right. So um, that's how I see the best way that I can equip them, or that we and my partner and I can equip them in how they're molding themselves into older humans. But I think it's so important. I can't prevent things from happening to them. That's not, we don't live in that world, unfortunately. But how am I going to give them the tools so they can use it when they need it, right? Yeah. So
Yeah, I love those different themes, right? Like empathy is a huge theme, curiosity is a huge theme. There's just so many ways to display love and to make sure it's being shared. And it's so refreshing to hear the ways that you incorporated that with your family and your little ones. And it's so good that they're being instilled with that very early on from someone amazing like you. So that's really, really wonderful. My next question is related to our theme of being our own perfect match. What does that look like for you in practice to be your own perfect match?
yeah, I think it depends on the day, whether I think that I'm my own perfect match, or it depends on the hour. Um, and I say this simply because every single morning, you know what, we wake up and we do affirmations to ourselves. We say, you know what, like today, like, you know what, you are okay, you are good, you are loved, all these things. And then you go through the day, you have these experiences. And the reason why I'm putting it this way is because you choose the way that you accept, or you choose the way that you deal with things. So you choose to either let go of certain things that are happening to you, or you choose to embrace it, or you choose to do whatever. You choose for it to impact your headspace. So I want to say that every day is different, and but every day you're also, depending on the hour, whatever that might be happening around you, you're constantly learning and unlearning as you go. And then you check in on yourself towards the end of the day and you say, okay, well, how was it for me today? Could I have done better for myself? Could I have showed up better for myself? Could I have spoken out more? Could I have, stood up for my colleague or whatever that might look like? Could I have reconnected with this person? Could I have been more present? Right. Um, so for me, it really varies. Some days, yes, I want to say, yes, I'm totally the perfect match. Right. And then other days, I'm like, oh my gosh, who is this person? Because that's just part of life. But what's more important that I feel is you come back to it. You come back to it and you pause and you reflect on those emotions and you think about what kind of pieces were in place in order for you to react the way that you did, in order for you to address something the way that you did, whatever that might be. We're living in a world where we're constantly on the go all the time. We're just like, oh my God, like we got to get all this stuff done. And there's so much emphasis on, oh my goodness, this person can multitask. They're awesome. Right. But there's not enough emphasis on the importance of pausing and just being in silence and just thinking about what's been happening around you. How are you doing? How is your headspace? Are you giving yourself 5 minutes even to just breathe? Right. Um, so that's kind of my way of prioritizing. Is some people might be like, oh my God, like where did Somya go? She's been like away for like, 15 minutes. She doesn't have a meeting. And I'm like, no, I just, some days you just want to say, you know what, I need to go. I need to go out for a walk. And that's what I need at that moment. And that should be embraced, right? Mental health is something that's like constantly in a crisis right now, where there's this huge emphasis on productivity, right? Productivity is fine as long as you are present and your mental health is taken care of. If your mental health and your well-being is not taken care of, it's just going to lead to destruction, right? And it's going to lead to destruction to folks around you and every single person that you're impacting. And it's this all of this work can be gone in like 2 seconds based on the way that you react to certain things. So I think it's really, for me and my family, it's important to just pause and disconnect and be present, and recognize that it's equally important as anything else that you're doing. It's part of life. It's part of your stress, your routine, or your schedule, or whatever that might look like. So
I love that. And you brought up a lot of different tools like reflections, affirmations, pausing, all of these things that really help you kind of come back to yourself. And so my final question is, what are some tools you'd share with, your larger audience? So your kiddos, but also people who might be reviewing this and seeing this. What are some other tools that have been really helping you on your self-love journey, outside of the ones you've mentioned?
yeah, so one of the biggest ones is just checking in when you wake up first thing in the morning. So first thing right away, folks are like, "Oh my gosh, I need to, hop in the shower, get my breakfast going, blah 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 blah." And you're like, "Okay, no, just take a minute and just say, okay, you're waking up. How am I doing today? What would make today better? How am I going to react to things? Like just take a minute and just take a deep breath and just focus on that." Oftentimes, what I feel is that when I wake up in the morning, I just enjoy kind of the silence. I enjoy not having the noise because we're constantly embraced by noise when we're working or whatever that might be. So the checking in, so folks can either kind of write down how they're doing today, or how they're waking up this morning. What are kind of the top three things that they would need to make their day run smoothly? It could be anything. It's not something like, oh my god, I need to make sure I get this task done. No, it's about like what does your headspace need? Um, and then doing the same thing at night before you go to bed. You're like, okay, how am I right now? And then reflecting on all those things that you wrote down, whatever you wanted and needed, did you have those? If not, what happened along the way, right? So it's just thinking about that and just writing those things down. The other thing too is recognizing when you need to take a moment and just step away. I think that's such a huge thing, huge component in life that oftentimes is overlooked. So regardless of, if you're obviously, you can't just walk away in an important meeting, but like once a meeting comes to an end, just take 2 minutes, whether that's like walking outside the building or walking outside the house, or just drinking water and breathing at the same time. Those things, just take a moment and just don't think about anything else. Just focus on whatever it is that you're doing, right? And lastly, I want to say mental health is so, it's recognized, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of embracing it in a workplace or even within communities or in families. And so whatever you're going through, if when you're recognizing that, like, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling overstimulated, take the day or take an hour, whatever that might be, just do something for you that doesn't involve other people, right? So there's different ways of doing self-love. It could also be, just giving a friend a call. It could be reaching out to a family member. But sometimes we get too carried away where we attach ourselves to others in a way of saying that, in a way of saying, okay, I need self love, which means that equates to me reaching out to someone. That's not the case. You need to learn to be with yourself, by yourself, and embracing yourself without other outside conversation. And so that would be my tools that have worked, that are working. I'm not saying it's perfect. There's going to be days where you're just like, you know what? I just don't feel like doing it. I just don't feel like, you know, asking myself how I'm doing, because I know I'm pretty pissed or whatever that might be, right? But the importance is, how are you coming back to yourself, right? Are you coming back to that, hey, remember that morning when I said I didn't want to check in on myself? Why? What led for me to feel that way? What was happening? Am I communicating that? How am I communicating it? Right? It's really important. And I want to say, writing is also not for everyone. So if there's ways for you to get a coloring book or something to just doodle in, right? Embrace the doodling. you know, just Start start fidgeting and start doodling and just let it see where it goes. Um, I also ask folks to disconnect if they can completely, because I feel like right now we're living in a space where it's just we're faced with so much, right? So it could be a conversation that's like a Teams call or whatever that might be. It's reading emails, it's looking at Facebook or Instagram, whatever that is. Just disconnect for like a minute or whatever that might look like. Just be present and allow yourself to be authentic. If you're legitimately saying, you know what, this is like, yeah, I feel really like I'm not in the space right now. I feel like I need to pause. I feel like I need to get away. Then allow yourself to do that. You know, don't filter yourself. You know, so yeah.
That's so honest, especially the part of like sometimes just not wanting to do the thing. And that's really, I think that's also the biggest like embodiment of self-love is also knowing when you can't love yourself
Mm,
and not being hard on yourself or not doing the affirmation or, not necessarily going to the gym or not necessarily doing that thing. It's listening to your body and listening to like you said, those emotions and those feelings of like I'm feeling pissed, I'm feeling exhausted. Even listening to yourself, listening to your body is an act of love. And so
yeah.
it can manifest itself in so many various different ways and shapes and forms. And I think you touched on so many beautiful tools that we can exercise that in our everyday lives. So thank you so much for sharing them. And
No.
thank you for coming and sharing your mental health and wellness journey with us and your self-love journey and how that kind of gets incorporated to your everyday life with your family. Super, super beautiful things. And my last, because I said last already, I guess question is, what would you say to someone who is struggling to practice self-love? What would be, a few words, a final sentence, someone who's struggling with self-love, what would you say to them?
I would say I get it. Um, it is a struggle. Every day is going to be different. It's not going to be all la di da and rainbows and all those things. That's just the reality. But allow yourself to go through the emotions. Allow yourself to go through them and accept them. We have this notion of, oh my goodness, I'm going to break down. I need to stop. Allow yourself to break down. Let
Ooh,
it let it all go. Let it all go and then reflect on that, right?
mhm.
Um it's equally important as saying, you know what, I had a good day, you
Yeah.
know? You were having a good day because you allowed yourself to let it go and just break down and just go through the emotions. We don't
Mhm.
need to hold on to emotions. It doesn't make us weak. It doesn't make us any less,
Mhm.
than this other person. It makes us strong. So that's what I would say. I would say allow yourself to go through the emotions and just let go and break down if you need to.
I love that. Allow yourself to go through the emotions. Thank
Mhm.
you so, 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 so much, Somia, for being here and joining the Unsinkable team. I'm so excited to get your interview up. And until next time.
Thank you.